Hello everyone, this is YASWANTH. In this session, we will be speaking about filters. So, in this experiment, we will be speaking about three types of filters. Those are moving average filter, first order derivative filter, 3-point central difference derivative filter. So, by the term filter, we can understand that a filter is something which allows only a certain range of frequency. So, these filters are used in filtering the low frequency signals and high frequency signals, and all frequency signals are also being filtered by using all pass filter. And coming to the experiment, first about moving average filter. The moving average filter is a simple low pass finite impulse response filter commonly used for smoothing an array of sample data or signal. It takes L samples of input at a time and takes the average of those L samples and produces a single output point. From the equation, we can understand that y of n is equal to 1 by L sigma k is equal to 0 to L minus 1 x of n minus k. And this is the signal processing flow diagram. From this, we can understand that the Z transform is again the summation of the different coefficient multiplications to the instance of the single unit delay. And coming to the derivative filter, we will be using two types of derivative filters for our experiment. They are the first order derivative filter and the 3-point central difference derivative filter. Coming to the first order derivative filter, this is a simple high pass filter which gives the output as the difference between the present data sample and the previous data sample of the digital signal. It basically enhances the slow portions of the signal. From the equation, we can understand that y of n is equal to x of n minus x of n minus 1. So, at the instant n, x of n is the present value of the input signal and x of n minus 1 is the previous value of the input signal. So, we can understand that it is a causal system, and the below one is the flowchart of the flow diagram of the signal processor. And coming to the 3-point center different derivative filter, the function of this filter is quite similar to the previous filter. The output of this filter is given by the difference between the present data sample and the data sample previous to two sample periods. That is, the difference between the previous one and the present one is, we'll take the difference in the previous filter we will be taking the difference of the present input value and the previous input value, but in this filter we will be taking the difference between the present input value and two two delay instants from now, that is x of n minus x of n minus 2. The processor which we will be using is Arduino Duo board. There are other boards like Arduino Uno board also, but Arduino Uno board cannot be used because of its low data space of 2 kilobytes, which cannot be used to process 1000 samples at a time. So, coming to the experiment part, the first part of the experiment is choose a filter to smooth out high frequency noises present in the signal. This can be done using a moving average filter. More the number of samples taken for averaging, more is the smoothening effect of the filter. The code which you use now is part just passes the given signal through the moving average filter with a window of 8 samples. So here the value of L is 8. So coming to the code part, so this is the Arduino code we will be using. Here we will be declaring the initial initial array of samples of 1000 samples. And if you see the processor part, here we will be declaring the number of samples which we need to take in the moving average filter, that is L is equal to 8. And coming to the logic, here is the for loop which will be used to take average of each sample in the moving average filter. So this is the logic which we will be using. And finally, we will obtain this y of j is equal to 0.125 into the value which we will get for the each term. 0.125 is multiplied because 1 by 8 is equal to 0.125. And if you plot the values, we'll get it as this. Here we can observe that this is the red color signal is the original PPG signal that will be having many fluctuations in the signal. But while we apply the moving average filter, we can see the smooth signal coming out of it. The blue one is the moving average filter signal, which is very smooth. See, we can observe the fluctuations are smoothened by the moving average filter. If you increase the L value, the smoothening factor will be more. And coming to the second part of the experiment is choose a filter to emphasize high slope portions in the signal. So we have seen in the previous part that we have used moving average filter to smooth the signal. So in this part of the experiment, we have to emphasize the slopes of the signal. This is a PP signal, so we will consider emphasizing of only the main peaks of the signal. The derivative filters can help us to do this job. For emphasizing the peaks only, we will first smoothen the signal and then we use the two derivative filters. So coming to the code part. So this is the code of the second part of the experiment. Here, after the moving average filter, we can get the moving average filter values in an array named y of I. So we will be applying the first order derivative filter for this y of I. So here you can observe that we will be using this term to get the first order derivative filter of y of I into an array called f of I. While you observe the plot of the signal, we will get this. Here we can observe that the green one is the main signal and the blue one is the moving average filtered signal and the red one is the first order derivative of the moving average filter signal. So going to the third part of the experiment. The third part of the experiment is design a moving average filter with L is equal to floor of 0.8 into n. That means that we should take 0.8 times the number of samples we have took to extract baseline drift component from a signal. So here comes a new term called baseline drift. So what is a baseline drift? Baseline drift component is the deviations in the signal pattern due to external disturbances measured by the sensor during its activity. In order to extract this component, you must apply a very large averaging window. Baseline drift component is a very low frequency signal and use of large averaging window reduces the cutoff frequency of the moving average filter, which will be just sufficient to extract out the required component. So the in generally the PPE signal consists of the pure PPE signal plus baseline drift signal plus noise. So this noise will be high frequency noise, and this baseline drift is not a noise, but we can reduce this baseline drift by increasing the number of samples. So here we will be taking 800 samples as value of L. So coming to the code part. So here we can observe the code of the third part of the experiment. Here we have kept the length of the moving average filter as 800 and performed the moving average filter for the main signal and found that baseline drift with an array called noise. So while we plot the noise curve, we will get this as this. This is the main signal and the blue one is the baseline drift. We can observe the baseline drift going straight in the slope. So going on to the final part of the experiment. So this is the final part of the experiment. In this part, we will find the output of signal processing system which performs derivative filter part first and then perform the moving average filter. So as this is just switching the order of the filters, we will directly go to the code part. So this is the code of the final part of the experiment. In this, we will be performing the second order filter to the main signal first and then we will perform the moving average filter to the output of the second order filter of the main signal. This is the code for the moving average filter of the second order signal of the main signal, second order filter of the main signal. So by plotting the values obtained from the final part of the experiment. We'll get the plot as this is the main signal, this is the second order filter of this main signal, and this is the main moving average filter of the second order filter of the main signal. We can observe the smoothing of the second order filter signal by the moving average filter applied to that signal. The fluctuations are smoothened to the maximum, and if you increase the length of the window length of the moving average filter, we can observe a more smoothened signal. So by this, we finish the first session of the digital signal processing lab, and thank you.